The Republican Convention. Sketch of historic gathering that nominated Harding and Coolidge. Current History Magazine. July 1920. The Republican National Convention assembled at Chicago, June 8, 1920. It was called to order by Chairman Will H. Hayes of the National Committee. Senator Henry Cabot Lodge of Massachusetts, who had been chosen as the temporary chairman, presided over the opening session and delivered the opening address. He defended the Senate's opposition to the peace treaty as a high and patriotic duty, and accepted the president's challenge by asserting, "We make the issue. We ask approbation for what we have done. The people will now tell us what they think of Mr. Wilson's League and the sacrifice of America." Mr. Lodge favored a firm policy toward Mexico under the Monroe Doctrine, defended the record of Congress, and in the course of his speech said, "Many vital economic measures, and especially tariff legislation to guard our industries, are impossible with a democratic free trader of socialist proclivities in the White House." He reviewed the action of the Senate with relation to the peace treaty in detail, maintained that the action of the Senate in resisting Mr. Wilson's demand for ratification of the treaty enabled the people at large to understand what it meant and what it threatened. Referring to the result of the treaty debate on the American people, he said, "They saw it was an alliance and not a league for peace. They saw that it did not mention the Hague Conventions, which we all desired to have restored as foundations for further extensions, did nothing for the development of international law, nothing for a world court and judicial decisions, and nothing looking toward an agreement as to dealing with non-judiciable questions. These real advances toward promoting peace, these constructive measures, were all disregarded, and the only court mentioned was pushed into an obscure corner. The people began to perceive with an intense clearness that this alliance, silent as to the real peace agreements, contained clauses which threatened the very existence of the United States as an independent power, threatened its sovereignty, threatened its peace, threatened its life. The masses of the people became articulate. Public opinion steadily changed, and today the number of Americans who would be willing to accept the covenant of the League of Nations just as the President brought it back from Europe is negligible. The American people will never accept that alliance with foreign nations proposed by the President. The President, meantime, has remained inflexible. He is determined to have that treaty as he brought it back or nothing, and to that imperious demand the people will reply in tones which cannot be misunderstood. No man who thinks of America first need fear the answer. Mr. Lodge strongly attacked Article 10 of the treaty, and maintained that the more it had been studied, the more convinced the majority of the Senate had become that it dragged us not only into every dispute and into every war in Europe and in the rest of the world, but that our soldiers and sailors might be forced to give their lives for quarrels not their own, at the bidding of foreign governments. He defended the reservations that were adopted by the Senate, also the Knox Peace Resolution criticizing the President for having vetoed it. He censured the Mexican policy of the administration, as well as the request of the President for a mandate in Armenia. He asserted that the American people had a deep sympathy for Armenia, having given over $40 million for her relief, adding, "But a mandate to protect and govern that country would involve our sending our sons and brothers to serve and sacrifice their lives in Armenia for an indefinite time." The second session of the convention met on the 9th. Senator Lodge was retained as permanent chairman. Senator Watson of Indiana was elected chairman of the Committee on Resolutions. The chief interest in this convention centered in the report of this committee. It was in continuous session for nearly 48 hours. At times, it seemed as if it would be unable to agree, and a party split was predicted. A group headed by Senators Johnson, Borah, McCormick, and other senators who were opposed to a League of Nations in any form threatened openly to bolt the convention if the platform contained endorsement of the League. When the convention assembled on the morning of June 10th, the air was full of rumors, and an impression prevailed in many circles that an agreement was impossible and a bolt unavoidable. Shortly after the opening, however, the Resolutions Committee reported, to the delight of the convention, that the members had finally agreed, and the platform would be presented in a unanimous report as soon as the drafting of the document could be concluded. The convention took a recess amid intense enthusiasm, and reassembled at 4 p.m., when the Committee on Resolutions reported. The report was unanimously accepted. The nominations for president were made at the session of Friday, June 11th. General Leonard Wood was nominated by Governor Allen of Kansas, Governor Frank O. Loudon by Congressman William A. Rodenberg of Illinois, Senator Hiram Johnson by Charles S. Wheeler of California, Nicholas Murray Butler by Senator Ogden Mills of New York, Senator Warren G. Harding of Ohio by former Governor Frank B. Wills of Ohio, Governor Calvin Coolidge of Massachusetts by Congressman Frederick H. Gillett, Speaker of the House of Representatives, Governor William C. Spruill of Pennsylvania by Mayor J. Hampton Moore of Philadelphia, Herbert Hoover of New York by Judge Nathan L. Miller of New York, Senator Howard Sutherland of West Virginia by Joseph M. Sanders of that state. The first 4 ballots were as follows. After the 4th ballot, the convention adjourned to the following day, with no choice in sight. The convention differed from previous national conventions in that there seemed to be no group in control. On reassembling Saturday, June 12th, it was anyone's race, though there were rumors that a combination had been formed to prevent the nomination of both Loudon and Wood. This was not indicated, however, by the ballots which followed. There were wild rumors of a break for Spruill of Pennsylvania and considerable talk of Senator Knox. It seemed clear that Senator Johnson was out of the contest. Also that the disclosures of the large sums expended in the primary campaigns by supporters of Wood and Loudon had prevented their nomination. After the 7th ballot, it was noticed that Senator Harding of Ohio began to gain, and the report became current that an agreement for his nomination had been reached. After the 8th ballot, when Senator Harding's vote jumped to 113.5, a recess was forced in order to enable the friends of Loudon and Wood to ascertain whether either could command sufficient support to head off the Harding movement. On reassembling, when the 9th ballot was taken, Harding led with 374 votes. Wood dropped from 299 on the 8th to 249 on the 9th, and Loudon from 307 to 121.5. Johnson had dropped to 82. It was now clear that Harding would be the nominee. On the 10th ballot, he received 692 1-5 votes, 200 more than a majority. On the motion to make the nomination unanimous, the delegates from Wisconsin, who had been consistently voting for La Follette, voted no, but did not leave the hall. The nomination for vice president followed quickly. Governor Coolidge of Massachusetts, Senator Lenroot of Wisconsin, and Governor Allen of Kansas were the chief nominees. On the first ballot, Governor Coolidge received 674.5 votes. The nomination was made unanimous amid great enthusiasm. The convention adjourned at 7:30 p.m. June 12th. The first reaction was disappointment over the presidential nominee. Among the group of Republicans affiliated previously with the progressive wing of the party, it was charged that the convention had been finally controlled by stand-patters and the old guard senators. There was also visible disappointment among the active supporters of the other candidates. However, 3 or 4 days later, it was evident that the Republicans as a whole were thoroughly united for the first time in 12 years, and that the nominee would receive strong support from all wings of the party. The selection of Governor Coolidge for vice president was enthusiastically received throughout the country, and his choice was regarded as a distinct help to the ticket. Warren G. Harding started life as a printer's devil in Marion, Ohio, and worked there as printer, reporter, circulation manager, business manager, editor, and publisher before he entered politics. He was born in Corsica, Ohio in 1865, was elected a state senator in 1889 and lieutenant governor in 1904, was defeated for governor of Ohio in 1910, and in 1914 was elected to the United States Senate. He placed President Taft in nomination for president before the Republican National Convention in 1912, and was chairman of the Republican Convention, making the keynote speech, in 1916. He supported the lodge reservations to the peace treaty in the Senate. Governor Coolidge was born in Plymouth, Vermont, July 4, 1872, graduated from Amherst College in 1895, studied law at Northampton, Massachusetts, and opened a law office there. In 1899, he was elected member of the Northampton City Council. In 1900, became city solicitor, was a member of the legislature in 1907 to 1908, mayor of Northampton in 1910 to 1911, served 4 years in the state senate, during 2 of which he was its president. He was elected lieutenant governor of Massachusetts in 1916, serving till 1918, and in the fall of 1918 became the governor of the state. He leaped into national fame in the winter of 1919 to 1920 when he defied the Boston police strikers, and by his firmness in installing a volunteer police force, saved the city from riots and lawlessness, becoming the chief factor, by his example, in ending the strike tendency of municipal functionaries, such as police and firemen.